glad you dropped by. Can I get a little more money here? Hey, good evening, baby. So glad you dropped by. I haven't seen you in a while. I don't know the reason why.
It's about your very first influences and growing up.
Well, you know, my father was from Louisiana. He was from Alexandria, Louisiana, and then he grew up on Beadle Street. And he had all the good records. I mean, when I was 3 years old, it was the first time I ever saw B.B. King. We never missed him. Every time he came to town, we'd always go see him. And I mean, from the time I was a little kid, I knew that was something different than anything I'd ever heard come out of a guitar. It was like the singing, I knew he was great when I didn't know anything. I knew that, you know. And so we never missed B.B. King. My papa had all the good records. He had a loud hi-fi, so I could go home and get his records when he's at work and do my thing, right? It was beautiful for me. And my parents were very encouraging of me. You know, if my papa came in the room and said, hey, dude, that sounds like B.B. King right there, I'd just be like, huh? You know what I mean? So, like, it would just hold me for like 3 weeks. I was thrilled by the fact that he dug it, because anything my papa dug, I wanted to try to do. And so, you know, I mean, my parents were wonderful like that. When I was, like, when the Beatles came to town, my mama took me to see the Beatles on a school day. So that tells you how my parents were. You know what I mean? They were like that. You know what I mean? He had the good records. He had the loud hi-fi. He said, just when you play my guitar, just put it back in the case when you're done. You know, it's like the only rule about it. You know what I mean? I put it back in there to be like 3 strings on it. You know what I mean? Because I was, you know what I mean? But he never got mad or anything. He was just like a wonderful human being. And so in my house, there was always lots of music. All the blues records that came out, my papa had them. You know what I mean? If they were like somebody like Lowell Fulsom, he had it. Guys that I never heard of when I thought B.B. King was the only guy that played the guitar, he knew about these other characters. And it was like, for me, it was the incredible thing. It's like, you know, he'd go to work every day. If I'm home, I go into his records and I get, you know, Guitar Slim, whatever it was. But you know, and they were very encouraging to me, you know what I mean? I dropped out of high school, stuff that could have killed me right there and thrown me out of the house. But if I would have quit playing the guitar, I think they would have killed me, you know? Because they enjoyed it and they encouraged me all the time. So I was like a flower that they put water on, you know what I mean? I would, you know, I would bloom when they say, yeah, that's good. And I mean, they took me to see everybody that you could think of that was alive, that played the blues. If they came to San Jose, we'd see them. And, you know, it was like I was just really lucky to have those folks as my mama and papa, you know, because they encouraged me in a way that just made me want to do it more. And, you know, they were both wonderful people, so a little bit of that rubbed off on me, you know. But I feel like I was blessed to have those two folks to be my parents. You know, my mother was a little Greek woman about this tall, you know, very profane. And then my papa was, to me, was like a mountain. He was like the strongest person I ever thought I saw, you know, and he was wonderful. So I just was blessed like that because they had the great records, they had a lot of love, and they just sprinkled that all over me. So it was like it was like I couldn't lose. I felt like playing the guitar was what I was born to do. And it is the only thing I know how to do. If I'm in a bank right now, I look like one of the marquee champs. I'm like, I don't know what to sign. I don't know what to do, right? But this, I understand. So this is my world right here, this piece of wood. And, I mean, if it wasn't for Melba, I wouldn't even be here today talking to you nice folks, because this is how I got to Australia and things, just by playing this piece of wood right here. And, you know, it's, for me, it's emotional. It's like I feel like when I come this far away from my home where I live and have people smiling and things when I'm playing this thing, it's like a blessing in my life, you know what I mean? And I just feel lucky about it all, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be here talking to you nice folks if it wasn't for this thing. So that's pretty much my beginning, you know? I mean, went long. That was longer than my life right now.
I remember the first time I saw you, Chris. It was your first trip to Australia in the 90s. It was out at the Bennelong Hotel at Beverly Hills. Woo-hoo.
Oh, man, I remember that.
And remember Jacko with Third Degree, and I was playing with Michelle Vandermeer's Midnight Ramblers.
Yes.
And I had tickets to the Blind Boys of Alabama that night.
Wow.
And then you came on with, I think you just released Unscheduled Flight, still one of my favorite albums of all time. And you came out with Don da don da don da don, Straight Tequila, and that was it. It was like, I gave my ticket to my friend. I said, please sell this, I'm staying here.
Wow.
And yeah, I've been a big fan ever since. But yeah, that album, Unscheduled Flight, that was the first time and then after that I went and got all the other ones, Can't Buy a Break.
Bless your heart, George. Thank you, buddy.
But that album just blew my mind because you were doing stuff I'd never seen really done on a fretboard before in the blues, really at all. And I remember having a conversation with you because I was just blown away and I wanted to know, how are you doing this? And you told me, it was like, well, man, it's like this, ba ba da ba da ba da ba da. And, and if you hit the wrong note, you're only a semitone away from the right one. It was pretty compelling advice.
Thank you,
But from coming back to the blues sort of thing, what was your, like, B.B. King, Albert King? Play some of your favorite licks of those.
Well, I mean, it's like B.B. King to me was like, when I heard this guitar for the first time, it was like nothing I'd ever heard before. I mean, just the tone of the thing. Even as a little kid, I knew, whoa, that's like something different. But what I loved about B.B. King was like the way he would just be like he'd go. I mean, I just thought that stuff right there was the greatest thing I ever heard. It was like food to me, you know what I mean? It's just like, and so B.B. King, and the fact that like he was like such a gentleman. I mean, if you were a little kid, he'd just look you right in the face and talk to you like you were a grown person, you know what I mean? It'd be like, but I mean, he was wonderful like that. So in my life, I just thought there was nothing could touch that playing or the human being that he was, you know what I mean? Because he would take the time to talk to a little kid like it was like you were a grown-up person, He would just, hey, how you, look you right in the face and talk to you, and you'd be like, so he just was always a person that I had on a pedestal because I said, this is the nicest, wonderful, and yet the greatest guitar player I've ever heard at this point. As a little kid, I knew it was great, you know what I mean? I didn't know anything when I was a little kid. But I knew that was great. I did. And, so B.B. King has a place in my heart that's like, and then Albert King, he seemed terrifying to me because he's like, he's a building and, he seemed like he could get grumpy, you know what I mean? It wasn't like he was like, hey, how you doing? He was like, huh, you know what I mean? So, just like, so when we open up the show for him the first time, we're going to open up for Albert King. I'm going to see him for 2 sets, right? It's going to be fantastic, right? And the people from the club went up to him and they said, hey, this little kid plays guitar. And he goes, no. I go, man, don't make him mad. I don't want to play. I'm just happy to be in here right now. I don't want him pissed at me, you know what I mean? And so then we're doing our set and we play and broke it down and stuff. And I can feel he's standing right here. I could smell the pipe smoke and he's going, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, you know what I mean? I'm like terrified, but I mean, he's liking it, right? So at the end of the whole thing, yes, he let me come and sit in, right? And it was like, he took the first solo. I mean, he had his thing cranked up. I mean, he went like at me like I was a little insect. He was trying to, just like played his, and I'm just like, you know what I mean? Because I love this guy, right? So he's playing the greatest things I've ever heard. So then I start playing, and he whips his head around. He goes, it's going to get dangerous up here now. That's what he said. I'm just like, you know what I mean? I'm like a happy dog right there, you know what I mean? So he takes another one, you know what I mean, doing all this stuff. And I'm like, woo! So then I take another one, right? And I play another solo. And my mother and father were there, right? And he goes, this is a nice young man. You know what I mean? And he was very sweet to me. So we played together. It was like the greatest thing of my life, you know what I mean? And he said, now, if you ever come to Memphis, I won't miss you. And so the first time I went to Memphis was playing at the Club Royale on Beadle Street. And it's all dark in there. And I just see these gold teeth, right? And it's Albert, right? He's like standing there. And he goes, I told you I wouldn't miss you. And I mean, for me, that was like, I can't even describe how that felt to me as a kid, you know what I mean? And so every time I would go to Memphis, he would come to the gigs, right? And he brought Otis Clay to my gig. And he's like, see, you know what I mean? It was like, for me, it was like the greatest thing that could ever happen, you know what I mean? And so I had many wonderful experiences with Mr. Albert King, you know what I mean? It was like, it feels like I dreamt it now when I think about it, because did that really even happen? But it was, for me, it was life-changing stuff because, I mean, these gentlemen travel across the highway just working their tail off, right? And it's like, he still took the time to, like, give me some advice and just be kind to me, you know? So it's like I cherished every minute of that stuff. And when he passed away, I mean, it was, like, devastating to me because he was playing with these pickup bands, and he really, you know, they didn't know his material, so he'd get all grumpy, start taking the mics off the drums and just go crazy, right? He was just not happy with it. But he had a band that was tight, like, before this. And so now he's playing with these rock fellas and stuff. They don't really know his stuff, and they're just kind of, you know, and it was like, you know, it was hard to watch that stuff. So we were talking about, like, we go on the road with him, we'd play our set, and then we'd back him up because, you know, I knew his thing. And then he passed away. So it was like Albert King died. It was like I thought, you know, this guy is invincible because he's like this building of, like, music, right? And, I mean, I went to his funeral. I went to Memphis to his funeral, and I couldn't listen to his records for about 2 years after that because it was like, to me, it was like unbelievable, right? Just that, like, my friend was dead. But I mean, it was like, I would pinch myself when I would go to Memphis because he would come there and he'd be like, you know, and he's like, I told you I wouldn't miss you, you know what I mean? He's like, we played at the river one time and the people started going crazy and I thought, what did we just play right now? And he was sitting on the twin I was playing through and he's going, shh, like this to the crowd. I mean, it's like he came to the gig, right? And I mean, he was just a wonderful person in my life. It was like, you know, I said, well, Albert King is really my friend. I mean, I saw this white Lincoln Continental. I go, Albert, is that your car? He goes, yeah. Finance company looking for it now, Chris. I mean, it's like, you know, he could be very comical. You know what I mean? He was like a wonderful guy. And so that's my Albert King thing. It was like, I loved his records, but I loved the person more. And I mean, when he passed away, it was like somebody stuck like a shovel in my heart. It was like devastating to me because I thought that guy would live forever. It was just like, you know what I mean? It's like this building, you know what I mean? That, like, you know, just a very powerful man. And so those are the two guys that really were my driving thing behind me, that just, like, go in my room every day after school till Mama say time to eat. I'd just be playing to these records. Wrecked all my father's records, you know what I mean, going back and stuff. It sounded like, you know, B.B. King was in a gravel fight or something. Because I'm like, you know, trying to get this stuff. And so I spent, you know, everybody else was learning how to drive, have girlfriends and things like this. I was in my room, like, wrecking my records, you know what I mean? And that was my life, really, up to this point, you know, just loved the guitar, loved these gentlemen that were like the driving force in my practice, and everything I did was like, you know, I just always felt these gentlemen hung the moon, you know, and it was for me to even speak to these gentlemen or something like this was like, every moment was like a golden memory in my heart, you know what I mean? It's because both of these guys I felt were like untouchable as guitar players and as people, really, you know? So I was lucky. I was very, very lucky because, you know, my father was like from Alexandria, Louisiana, a big black fella, and then my mom was like this little Greek lady, right? So it's like these two people, you know, just were like, they encouraged me every time I would do things. I mean, I dropped out of high school, they didn't even blink. But if I would have said I was going to quit playing guitar, I think they would have had a fit, you know what I mean? They were really loving like that. And I mean, I feel like that was the greatest thing in my life is those two folks that, like, you know, encouraged me like that. They had all the good records and they let me do my thing. And that's why I'm standing here right now talking to you nice folks, is because they put water on the flower. I mean, they really encouraged me. It was like I was a lucky fella.
That's great. Yeah, it sounds like your parents were beautiful people that love music, man. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah. You mentioned practice. What is your practice routine? What were you doing back? You know?
Well, you know, when I was a kid, it was like I would come home after I had like a bowl of cereal, and then I'd go get my B.B. King records and things, and I would just try to get every little thing he was doing down, and I would just spend, you know, every hour until it was Mama say time to eat. I'd just be in there, you know, I mean, I lost my mind behind this thing. It was like the time would just fly by, and it was like, this is the greatest friend I really have ever had, you know what I mean? And because of this, you know, I've been able to go to places I don't live, way far from where I live, and meet people that I would never have met because of this piece of wood here, you know what I mean? It's like, I wasn't smart enough to figure out and plan this to happen. It was like, it just kind of happened, and I mean, you know, I just went with it because it's the only thing I know how to do, really. And I mean, I feel like the guitar has been the key to took me to here. I mean, this is as far away from my home as I could be. You know what I mean? And from the first time I came here, I met people. Rosscoe. I mean, you know, when I met Ray, it was like, wow, look at this guy. I mean, it's like, so I met people here that loved music like that. I mean, they were very, I mean, you know, it's like there was a club scene, and these guys would drive. You know how it is. The next place you play is like 4 hours away from here. You know, and then after you play, you gotta go back home 4 hours. You know what I mean? These guys didn't even blink. They're just like Jeff Lang. You know what I mean? He's in this black van, goes through Broken Hill, all this stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about. And then he'd show up, and I go, man, how'd you, you know? And he's in there, and I looked down at the thing, and there's all these candy wrappers on the floor. You know, he's eating this candy. He's just like, you know? So it's like I met these gentlemen, and they're like, all of these fellas were very kind, very wonderful people. I mean, you know, Kevin Borch, all these guys. I mean, I heard about them through when I got here. These guys are the guys, and then I met them all. It was like a fantastic thing. But this guitar here is the reason why I was able to come here and even meet these fellas. You know what I mean? And it was like, of all the places I've ever traveled in my life, there's Australia and Italy are two places that, like, you know, I felt like when I was in Germany and stuff, like they were talking about me. They're like, this, but they're not talking to me, you know what I mean? And in Italy, these guys don't speak any English, but they're like, come, Beadle, you know what I mean? Start drinking with these guys. They're watching Lassie. They're crying, you know, I'm like, Vito, Carlo, all these guys, right? So in Italy, and then when I came to Australia, it was like immediately, I mean, I just loved everybody I met, and all the musicians played their patootie off. I mean, I saw Jeff Lang go into a hotel. Well, these drunken guys were in. It was like packed with these guys, and they're just drunk out of their minds. Ah! I said, man, this guy's gonna go in there with his little stomp box and a guitar. They're gonna eat this guy alive. I gotta see this. You know what I mean? It's gonna be horrible. You know what I mean? And he went in there, man, and I mean, he rocked that place. He had these guys like in his palm in 2 tunes. You know what I mean? I said, I mean, because they all sung their butt off. Chris Finnan, you know what I mean? Like they get into this raga thing. They'd be like 2 Ravi Shankars. I mean, they'd be playing all this stuff. So when I met these guys, it was like, wow, like-minded characters like I am, you know what I mean? And they accepted me for my crazy stuff. But they were all tremendous entertainers, man. Like, I mean, you know, packed the place with a bunch of drunken guys drinking Coopers all night, no problem. Just rock them, you know what I mean? And own them by 2 tunes in, you know what I mean? I said, I've never seen guys do this. They all could sing like birds. And they all knew all kinds of repertoire, so they could play anything, you know what I mean? I thought, man, these guys really know their thing, you know what I mean? So Australia, for me, was like an eye-opening experience because up to that point, I thought, hey, you know what I mean? Everybody plays this kind of way, lives where I live. But no. I mean, and these guys, you know, they drive like 4 hours to that thing, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, where I live, I mean, if they drive more than an hour, they're crying over it, you know. Whining and crying, but these guys smiling, you know what I mean? Then drive home after the gig 4 hours, after having a few pints too, you know what I mean? Amazing individuals in my eyes. So Australia was the first place where I felt like I actually have friends in a country that I don't live in, that I love, you know what I mean? And they treat me like they love me too. And it was the same thing in Italy. I mean, nobody could speak any English. I couldn't speak any Italian, but we just, you know, we seemed to connect, you know what I mean? Like they said, come, Beadle, you know what I mean? Started drinking with these guys, had the most wonderful times in my life. And I still don't speak any Italian. They mostly don't speak English, but every time I go there, we know what we're saying. I mean, it's like I know what they're telling me. They know what I'm telling them, you know? So this has been the key to drive me to all of these wonderful places. And I mean, I'm not just saying that because I'm here, but like Australia for me was the first time I said, I have people there that I love. These guys work their butt off, right? They play, they work during the day, and they still drive for like 4 hours to like, you know, Broken Hill or wherever the hell it is. And they just kill this thing, you know what I mean? It's like, never seen this before, right? So Australia is in my heart, like there's a thing about it, right? And I mean, the fellas that I met then, I still know and I still love, and it's a wonderful thing for me. And Italy was like that too, but this was like the ticket to go to all these wonderful places that I only saw on television. You know what I mean? It really, for me, is like, that's what I look at as the success I've had in my life, is that I got to go to these places that are so far from where I live and know people that I love and they love me back. It's like, I would have never dreamed that could happen. You know what I mean? I just knew I loved to play this music, but I didn't think it would turn into what it has turned into, you know. And I thank God every day when I wake up, because it's the greatest thing in my life. I wouldn't know anything else to do, and it just worked out for me. I was lucky.
Well, we're very thankful that you've made it out here to Australia, Chris. We're really glad that we've known you now for like 30 years, since the 90s.
I swear. It's like, I mean, it seems like just yesterday.
I know,
it's the
right?
first time I came here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you guys didn't get older, but I did.
Yeah, right. Getting back to Unscheduled Flight, I remember that there's a quote on that album by Robben Ford. Now, I know we've talked about your stylistic influences by B.B. King, Albert King, Freddie King, all them. Now, what about Robben Ford? Where's he in the mix?
Well, see, and it was a certain point when I had my Peter Green thing on my BB things, and I was going pretty good. I felt like, yes, things are wonderful. This is starting to happen. And then we went to tune into a radio thing. It was going to be Boss Skaggs came up with that record that had Runnin' Blue on it with the horns and the whole thing. And so we were going to listen to Boss Skaggs with this record with these horns and things. But the opening band was a band called Charles Ford Band. It was like Pat Ford, Robben Ford, Mark Ford, and then somebody else. Oh, Stan Poplin on bass. And I mean, these guys started playing this stuff to open up the thing. And when the Boss Skaggs set came on, we didn't even hear it because we were just like, what was that? I mean, it was like, I never heard like chord voicings like that. Robben playing an L5, you know what I mean? Like in a quartet where he's playing all the chords and soloing. It was like this quartet was like nothing. It was like I was hearing like Martian talk. It was like, I thought I knew about blues guitar, but I never heard anything like this before. Just the way they played together, the sound of the four guys, it was a mind blower to all of us. We were just like, huh? So I said they were going to play their last gig before they broke up. It was New Year's Eve, and it was going to be their last gig. And I said, I got to go see this because I don't even know what I just heard there, but I went there and saw it right before my eyes, and it was like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Just like it was blues, but it was like this flavor of things like the chord voicings, the things that he was playing on the guitar. And I thought I kind of had my thing figured out. I'm like, but I mean, I never heard anything like this. So it was like life-changing evening when I saw these guys. And then to get to know them and be like somebody they were like my friends, it was a fantastic thing. And I mean, Patrick Ford in my life, I wouldn't have a record out for 7 years or something. And he'd say, well, put one on the rocket. And he'd make a record that like kind of kept me in the conversation by releasing these records every 7 years when I wouldn't have a record out or anything. And so, those guys in my heart is like, but I mean, hearing that band for the first time, that first Charles Ford Band album on our Hooli, I mean, that's the way they sounded, just like that record. And it was like, I mean, never in my life heard anything like that on the guitar. Just like the chord voicings, the ideas, the way he would pace his solo, break it down to a whisper. I mean, it was like, it was fantastic. I mean, to this day, I love every note of those records because it was like, I remember the first time I heard that stuff, and I just went home like, I quit. Forget it. I mean, I thought I kind of had this handled, but, I mean, those guys really... they changed my playing because once I heard that, I was able to step out of that thing and just kind of investigate where they were coming from with this thing, and it changed my playing for sure. And I mean, I love those records. I mean, every time I hear them, it's like it's 1972 again. I'm at my mama's house, it's like, whew. But yeah, Robben Ford, to me, I mean, when I saw him with the Yellow Jackets, it was like, that's why I got this guitar. I saw him playing one of these. I said, I have to have one of those. You know what I mean? Mine didn't sound like that when I got mine, but I mean, it was just amazing to see right in front of you, these guys play like this because it was life-changing for me, really. Robben Ford just took me to another whole place, and that's when I started wanting to understand jazz and, start taking classes, like listening to jazz records and, really just it was a school listening to him play, even to this day, you know what I mean? But it was like going to a whole nother school there with those fellas,
You mentioned all the different chord voicings that they would use. Do you have an example?
Well, it's like, when I was playing with my B.B. King records, it was like, these are the things. But Robben was playing like this. It's like these, like 9, like, these things. It was like, that sound to me was like nothing I had heard, because everybody was like, but this, just was like, it was like pizza with a whole different topping on it or something. It was delicious like the other pizza, but different delicious. You know what I mean? It's just like, that stuff kept me up at night because it was like, oh my God. And then to see it right in front of your face, you know what I mean, was like, it's just like, when I think about it, it's like I can feel how it was. It was like a shock, but it was like wonderful. You know what I mean? It's like, man, that stuff I'll never be able to do. But I dig watching this because it was a sound that was like some delicious food that I had never tasted before. You know what I mean? Really was special like that. And those guys have a place in my heart, just like B.B. King and things, because, it was like the first time I ever saw a band of fellas that were not from Memphis, were not like, black gentlemen. They were like these guys from Ukiah, right? These brothers, and they were just playing the shit out of it. It was tremendous for me. You know what I mean? Robben Ford definitely took me to another place, just trying to even understand what that was, And really, I'm so thankful that I even heard that radio show that day because, you know what I mean? We forgot Boss Skaggs was even on that thing when we heard those guys. It was like we just spent the rest of the time going, what was that? You know what I mean? We were stunned and shocked, but it was wonderful shock. It's just like anytime you taste some food you never had before that's delicious like that, you're like, how could I not know about this? And that's how it was with Robben. It was just like, he just, he's barefooted with like a lumberjack shirt on and like this big jazz guitar. He's just saying all these things on this thing. It was like he listened to every jazz guitar player that ever lived and then put it in a blender and then made it like this thing, It was like, I would get high just listening to that. It was like tremendous guitar playing, right? And just as a quartet, the way they played together and the love they played with, they're just all smiling and they're just playing all this crazy stuff that just wreck your day. You're like, oh, I'll never be able to do that. You know what I mean? It's just like, they were wonderful. And it was like, for me, at that point in my life, it was the greatest thing that could happen to hear those guys,
Because I must admit, there are elements of lots of jazz in your playing. Absolutely.
Well,
yeah.
After I saw these guys play, I didn't know how they got to the point where they understood this thing like that. So then I went to school, and my parents were really against it. They thought it was going to wreck my playing, right? But I felt like I just need to go find out what this music talk is because I saw Robben on a thing that was called the Guitar Explosion. It was like all these different guitar players. T-Bone Walker was there, Shuggy Otis, Robben, Roy Buchanan was the last guy, but everybody had to play with the same jazz trio, right? And like the blues guys could do like a slow blues, a shuffle, maybe like a funky blues, but they couldn't really communicate with the trio to do more than that, right? It was like, and then Robben comes out and he goes, pss, 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 and it's like, I go, what the hell did he just say in like 20 seconds? It's like instant arrangement? You know what I mean? What was it? I said, I got to know this music talk, right? Because I had my own terminologies nobody knew anyways. So I went to school, and my parents thought it was going to wreck my playing. They were really kind of against it. But it was the greatest thing that happened to me because, I learned the difference between blues form and song form. Like, song form is different than blues form. I would try to learn these things Wes Montgomery would play. I'd get about 4 bars down, and then I'm lost. I don't know what the hell he's doing anymore because it's song form. It's not blues changes, So I had to learn the terminologies, and so you could communicate with another musician. Like go in there and say, pss, 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 and then play something, right? I thought that was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. These guys never talked before. He goes, pss, 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 and so it's like, I'm just like, man, I got to know this music talk, because without that, you're just going to be stuck with whatever you're doing, right? So he was the one that really drove me to go to college and then, start studying what song form was, what the difference between an 8-bar blues and a 12-bar blues and all these things. It was like, I just knew I dug this, I knew I dug that, and I would try to memorize this stuff, but wasn't until I understood what the forms were and things, and had to go to school to do that, So I really am happy that I took the time to do that, because it really changed my playing, it changed my life, really. I became like a instructional aid in the classes. I mean, I went to school till they closed the music department down. I'd still be going there right now, because I just dug every practice room was full of people. It's just all, people playing. It's like the scene there was great, man, and so that was all because I saw Robben Ford, and I just saw, I don't know what this is that they're talking about, but he whispered like something to these guys, and it was like instant arrangement. They're just like playing, this amazing thing. I said, I need to know that music talk, you know what I mean? Just so I can communicate with another musician. I had never thought about this before, but that's really what drove me to want to go and, lock myself in a room with Charlie Parker records and things and just figure out what the hell that was.
I agree. It is a bit like bebop in the blues. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I never heard people playing these kind of patterns over blues changes, right? And it was like, I mean, just like it was like a lightning bolt hit me,
I must admit, one of the tunes on Unscheduled Flight is Helping Hand, which, like, seriously, for a song that's only 2 chords, there's a lot going on there. Like that opening lick that you come in with.
When I was a kid, I found this lick that Larry Carlton played on the Crusaders album. They started a tune, but it was a mistake, so they stopped. And he went, he did. And I said, what is that thing, right? So I got this thing. And I found out, like, it went over minor chords. So I was listening to, like, Marvin Gaye's record where, like, and then he goes, and I'd go, I could just do that all day, but, like, I mean, just, I was so happy. Just, I could play that thing over and over, just like, and then I started to break it into pieces, and I found out, okay, it's also, you got this. And I said, okay, this whole thing, like, so it just took off like a wildfire. And, I got this thing, and I figured out this thing goes over major, minor. It seems like it goes over every tonality. You know what I mean? I'm like, can't be right, because major only goes over major, minor only. But no, this thing was like, you could superimpose it over any tonality, and you find a place, it will work, So I lost my mind behind that whole thing right there, and I was just like, you know what I mean? It's just like, I couldn't do that enough, And it just kind of snowballed on me, and it was like, then it went further and further, just like, next thing you know, I was playing my saxophone and things, but it was like, it was a slow process of just these little bits that, like, just blew my mind, and then, all my pals were learning how to drive, they had girlfriends and things, I was in my room, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's all not happy. It's kind of sad, some of the story, but that was how it happened. I mean, I found these patterns that were like not like anything I heard. They're going over changes, and it was like I just lost my mind behind the whole thing. So I still don't drive. You know what I mean? I know girls, but but really, it was like that was the thing that like just slapped me in the back of the head. It was like, oh my God, that is the most amazing thing I've ever heard. And then drove me back to like Wes Montgomery and all these people that I knew he must have listened to. And it's just like, it was like a wildfire that just wouldn't go out. I was just always like in my room scratching up my records and things.
Because that is not my favorite track on that album. My favorite track on that album is "Do You Call That a Buddy?"
Oh, wow.
Right, in F minor. That's a freaking awesome song. Now, you do a lick in that starts like on the F sharp. When it's doing that, where's the guitar?
Yeah, man.
You do this thing. So it goes. Something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. That's the one.
Yeah, you know, it's like, I mean, this one lick, it just turned into like this, it's like the springboard of all these different patterns. Like it turned into, you know, just like that one little, just like breaking it into pieces. It was like I found all these different ways to get the stuff through that one little pattern. It really changed my playing. It was like, you know, the blues box. That thing's like handcuffs. You know, once you get into that thing, it's like prison. You can't get out of this thing, right? It's like you're stuck in this box. And when I found this particular lick right here, it was like right around Christmas time, about 1971. I swear to God, I'll never forget. And it was like that thing, from that day on, I never played. I mean, I got out of that, but the handcuffs were off. It was like suddenly it just opened the neck of the guitar to all these things that I would have never gotten to had I not discovered this one arpeggio that was like it went over every tonality, and it was just, it fit. It was like, it was beautiful. It's like, you know, anywhere you put it, it was like, ha, you know what I mean? And it was like that thing right there was what changed my playing to what it is now, because I never played the blues scale again in my life. It was like I found this whole other highway to get home. You know, it was like there was this one road I've been taking this whole time. Suddenly I found this other back road that was like the shortcut to my house. You know, it was like, I mean, it was really just like, it was life, for me, it was like musically life-changing.
So, when you're soloing, are you thinking chords? Are you thinking scales? A mix of the two? Neither? Nothing?
You know, if I'm really playing the way I like to play, I'm not even thinking at that point. I'm just going to things that I feel. It's like I know places that I can go, streets that I can take to get to the next neighborhood, basically. And it's like if I'm thinking, it's not going to be as good. Because if I'm thinking, I can't think and play. I can either play or I can think about it. You know what I mean? But if I start thinking about it, it gets very robotic and not like, but if I'm free and I'm not thinking about it, I can just fly like a bird. You know what I mean? I feel that like, that's why I can fly like that, is because I took the time to just figure out what the heck that was. You know what I mean? And it's like, it really changed my playing so that I never had to really think about it. I just play what I was feeling at the time, you know what I mean? And as I get older, it's crazy because, I mean, I just burst into tears all the time. I'm 67 years old. I mean, if the wind blows funny, I cry. But I mean, on the guitar, you know what I mean? You want to play with your emotion, but like you know, it's like your emotions don't know. You just want the musical emotions. So it's like everything comes out, right? And so I just feel that like I was lucky to be freed up to spread my wings and fly like that, where I'm not thinking what chords I'm playing over. I'm just basically just reacting to the form of the song, and I'm just playing what I feel over these things. And when I got to the point where I was doing that, I felt really happy because, I mean, I was like, I would hope to do that, but the fact that I kind of got to the point where I could just express what I was feeling with the material that I've looked at, just changed my playing. It changed the way I approached playing the guitar, the way I thought about playing the guitar. It was like I never really thought about it anymore. I just went for what I liked and what I loved it sound like, you know, and that's how I ever, you know, that's why I'm here today. It's just like I don't know how to drive. I didn't do, I mean, if I go into a bank, not good, but I mean, really, that's what happened. I mean, it's like this couple of musical moments, records that I heard just took me and just transported me to a whole nother way of thinking about what's on the neck. It was like I didn't think about it anymore. I discovered these back roads and things, and then I just had new ways to get through the neighborhood, really, you know? And that's how I approach it to this day. I mean, I hear things I like, I just figure out what the heck it is, and then I just kind of add it to my soup. And it's like, I mean, the chase has been much more fun than the actual doing of it. I mean, the chase of it was like always for me. You know what I mean? Wake me up in the middle of the night if I hear like a gum commercial or something. I'm like, what is that? You know what I mean? So it's like I was crazy like that. And but that's how I was able to do any of the stuff I'm doing now, is because I just was knocked backwards by certain things that I heard that just would keep me up at night until I figured out what the heck that was. I have to have that. I don't know how you use it, but I just would analyze it. You know what I mean? And when everybody else was dating, had girlfriends and stuff, I was in my room just wrecking my records.
I was going to ask for anybody that's trying to learn guitar and that. What do you think are the stuff you have to have down if you're going to be a decent blues guitarist?
Well, I mean, I always felt that you had to know chords, so that like if you're playing behind somebody, I mean, it's like when I was young, I mean, I knew all this stuff to play, but I didn't know a lot of chords. So, when somebody else was taking a solo, I was standing there like I was waiting for a bus or something. I didn't have anything I could do to help this project. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm going to have to watch until they give me another spot, and then I'll do my thing again, right? But I realized that, like, that's not happening. So the first thing that I realized is that you have to really have kind of a knowledge of chord forms and, what chords you dig to use. There's all these different, I mean, there's some books that have like 4,000 chords, but really it comes down to like about 4 chords that you really like, you know what I mean? And it's like, once I discovered that and got into the fact that like backing another person up that's soloing is as important as taking your solo and doing your thing. I mean, it's like if you can play something behind a guy to make him play more stuff, then you're doing your job, really. It's like, you know what I mean? Because it can happen, but you have to take the time, That could be my mom now. Christopher, shut up.
No, don't shut up. Absolutely not. So chords, absolutely. Big one, chords. Scales, what do you think about scales, pentatonics and all of that?
It's like, I mean, they're important, really. But, I mean, it's kind of like the blues scale. You get into that pentatonic thing, it's like the prison again. You're locked into this thing. It's like, okay. And, like, there's chromatic things that you can play in those spaces, but there's, like, these other, like, patterns that, like, involve more kind of a chromatic, So it's like those kind of things like that. When you get like the chromatic thing in there happening, it's like Charlie Parker, that kind of thing. It was like I realized that like that stuff was as important as just, And so, I mean, it's like the chase really has never ended for me. It's like every day I wake up, there's something I want to know. You know what I mean? And it's like I enjoy the chase as much as I enjoy like the playing of it. You know what I mean? Just like, what is that? Got to have that. How do I get that? You know what I mean? So that's been really the buck of my life. It's like wrecking my records and trying to find out what that is right there. But, I feel that like if you're going to play, it's as important to know how to accompany somebody when they're soloing as it is to play the things you dig. You know what I mean? You take your solo, but then when you get done, he's playing. What are you going to do? Can you make it better by just what you play, And so the chords became an important part of it that I never really even considered. I was just like, these licks are wonderful. And it is true. But, you have to know how to accompany somebody and play with more than 2 people. When you play with 4 people, what are you going to play? How do you stay out of the way of what they're doing? You don't want to play over the top of it. So a lot of that is like what I really have, over the last maybe 30 years, have really tried to understand how you make it better playing so that they bloom like a flower when they start playing. It's like you play something that makes them go, then you're doing the right thing. But, I just always was trying to figure out how you do that. So when you play behind somebody, make them happy, And I thought that was as important as any lick you could learn, because really what it all comes down to is being able to play with a group of people. You know, you're not always going to be in your room just playing all your favorite licks. I mean, at some point, you're going to play with 3 other guys, and what they're doing, how do you fit in with that? Are you going to be in the way? Are you going to be part of this, you know, the solution? Or are you going to be the problem, you know? And I never wanted to be the problem, so that's how I've always approached this thing, you know, like chords and forms and things, you know what I mean? I'll never, you know, get to everything I want to know, but, I mean, the search and the chase of it is like something that, I mean, just drives me, you know what I mean? I love the chase.
What about in terms of, like, getting down to specific techniques here? Any specific picking techniques or any tips?
The thing about my picking is, like, if I look at my picking hand, I just go right to pieces. It's like it'll go to hell in a handbasket. It's like the kind of thing where I really can't pay attention to this. You know, I'm playing this, but this thing is just, I realized that, like, picking every note as opposed to slurring things where you, but if you pick every note, you know, it's like, these kind of things like that. It's like, so this thing, it became very important to, like, just be able to play note by note and have it all be the same size notes, not go in and out, you know what I mean? It's like, and it's a quest. I mean, sometimes it works well for me, but this is definitely an important part of it, you know, this hand here, just to get the kind of, you know, I mean, it's just like, you know what I mean? It's crucial, this thing. And for both of these guys to play at the same time, I was like, sometimes you can't match them up. It's like that, you know, they're wrestling each other. It's like, you know, but you want to get it so that, you know, it's just like, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. And it's like, this hand is very important. I mean, this one's crucial because this is like going to be the route you're going to take to your house. But this is kind of like the key of the car right here. You know what I mean? You got to, like, this thing's got to be good. And, you know what I mean? No matter how much I try to make it good, you know, sometimes it gets dangerous. You know what I mean? Have to get somebody to come and cut you out of strings. So, you know, just, you know, it could go wrong. But, I mean, it's like that's what I strive for. You know what I mean? To make both hands show up at the same time at the same place. You know what I mean? Nobody, it's just, I mean, the only way I can describe it is like, you know, it just takes a minute. And the thing that I learned is, like, you got to play it slow, whatever it is. You got to play it very slow. You want to go fast, but you want to play it very slow so that you get it into your DNA, like where your fingers go. And then after that, you don't have to think anymore. You just fly, you know. But you got to take the time to do that, and it's important. I mean, there's not enough hours in the day, really, to do what I would like to do with this thing. Sometimes it works very well. Sometimes, I'm stumbling over things. But, you know, it's just because you're trying to go for something you hear in your head. And it's never going to be bad. I mean, it's just like, you know, sometimes you try, it doesn't happen. But then you kind of get your butt kicked, and then you go and you figure that thing out so you make sure it doesn't happen again in front of anybody. You know what I mean? Just like, and it's the chase. That's what I do every day. You know, I try to make it better, but I mean, it's like, you know, it's just a never-ending search, and like you know, when the search ends, I guess you die. But I mean, you know, it's like the search for me and the chase. I love the chase. I love the process as much as I love the actual playing of whatever it is. You know what I mean? When I get there, I'm thrilled, but there's always something else. You know what I mean? There's always stuff that you never heard before. And you go, who's that guy? And it's a whole nother thing. It's like a whole nother pie that you eat, and it's delicious too, you know? So really, that's, for me, it's just like it's a never-ending chase that I love. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. We know what you mean, Chris. We love it too. Left-hand technique, I need to mention your bends that you do. They're just spot on. Like, any tips or tricks, or is it just hard work and practice? Yeah,
it is, you know, and just to, like, I try to bend it in tune, you know, to, like, certain notes, like, you know. You know what I mean?
That
whole
Albert
thing.
King sort of vibe.
Yeah, you know, Albert and BB, those are the guys that like first discovered this whole bending thing, and it's like, you know, you want it to be in tune when you bend it to a thing. You know, it's like if you bend it just almost there, it's, you know, what I mean, it could make people ill. You know, what I mean, just a half tone off. You know, he's like, guys, you go, I don't know what happened, but I got to leave. You know what I mean? So it's like that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because it can be irritating. You know what I mean? And I try to do it. Every time I do it, it's not like totally in tune, but, you know, in the course of the frenzy, you know, of the thing, you know what I mean? I try to get as close as I can, but I understand that bending thing, for me, was like, was the main driving thing behind all my studying this thing was just like, how are they doing that? I mean, you know, and then in the heat of the moment when you're playing this stuff, where you bend it, when you get off the string and move to some other note, it's like, it's a science that, you know what I mean? It's like the way it can happen. And it's like, you know, if you think about it too much, you can't play and think, you know what I mean? But you have to find these things that get you from here to there, or from here up to here, you know what I mean? How are you going to get up there? Are you just going to go up to the note? How are you going to get there? You know what I mean? What are you going to do to head that way, and where are you going to stop? You know what I mean? And then in between, what notes are you going to sit on that, like, make it good, right? And it seems like these notes, like, or, all those notes, all good, right? So it's like, how are you going to get there? You want to use them all? Well, when are you going to stop? How are you going to head to the next one? It's, you know, it's like, and it's a personal thing. Everybody's got their way of doing it. It's just like, you know, I can't, like fingerprints. I mean, everybody's got fingerprint, but everyone's just a little bit different. And when you hear players that you really dig, why is he different than that guy? It was like, that was always the thing. What makes this cat different than that guy? Well, it's like these things that he's putting in his language there are fantastic. I never even thought of putting those words in my sentence. You know what I mean? And then these little things like, you know, that just that kind of stuff. It's like where you start the note, where you let it go. I mean, how long do you sit on it before you move it? You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, it's crazy to talk about it like that because I really don't think about it like that. But that's what it comes down to. It's like you're gonna go from here to there. I mean, how are you gonna travel up the street? What streets are you gonna take? Where are you going to stop and eat? You know what I mean? It's like kind of like that. What notes are you going to sit on and do? You know, it's just like that. How are you going to get from this street over to your house? Are you going to take the shortcut? You're going to take the long way and sit on those? You know what I mean? But there's all these ways that you can do it that feel really good when you do it. I mean, for me, it just makes me happy to bend a note. You know what I mean? It's like, and at the same time, I can be in tears over it, like one note. Just like, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or what, but, you know, it's just that, to me, the chase of this whole thing, trying to understand why that worked, why that doesn't work. You know what I mean? And all people that listen are different, how they listen to it. So it's like, if I can connect with somebody in the room with whatever I try to do, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I want to do. It's just like when I play a thing, if I see a smile on somebody's face, like they heard something in there, you know what I mean? I'm just thrilled. It's like that to me is a great evening. You know what I mean? And I don't expect it to happen all the time. I don't just think it's going to happen, but I have to do certain things to make that happen, you know? And I just love to figure out what it is about this thing. And it's like, I mean, the more that I look at it and think about it, the more I see that it's so vast. I mean, you know, it's like you could never really stop trying to figure this out because there's always going to be some little thing that make you stay up all night and go, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? And I love that part of it. You know what I mean? I love the chase. I really do. I always have, you know?
You also play piano and saxophone, yes. Yeah, I was just going to ask one more question about your tone, and then I was going to throw it open to questions. Is that all right? Right. So, your tone is just spectacular, and I know there's not much going on there because it's all just straight from the heart, brother. But just tell us what your rig setup usually is.
I have a Music Man RD112. It's like a little, it's like an amp like this that Music Man makes, half solid state, half tube. And before that, I had a boogie amp, and it was very dark sounding. So every time you move your hand on the neck, it's like you hear all this. It's like very noisy, kind of dark. You know what I mean? You could never get to a singing kind of a thing where it was just too. It's like you were playing through a bass amplifier or something to me. And so then I found this Music Man amp, and that amplifier with my guitar just piled up. It was like, you know what I mean? It was like suddenly the sound that I heard in my head that I wanted to hear come out of my guitar was coming out of my guitar. And it was like that was a day that was like crucial, because from that day on, I really never had to think about my amplifier or how I had it turned up or anything. I could just turn it on and I could make it say what I wanted to say, you know? And I was very lucky about that, because I think that the fact that I found it, like the tone that I heard in my head, the amplifier that made it come out, like that's the tone I hear in my head. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? So it's like Goodbye Boogie, Hello Music Man. And I've had that amplifier since 1987 when I made my first record. I had my Boogie and it blew up on the recording session. I borrowed this money to make my first record, Late Night City Blues. And so I went to the music store and I said, what do you have with tubes? And they brought this thing out. It was like 50 watts of pure hell, I call it. And, you know, I was like, once I got that amplifier, I heard the sound that I was imagining in my head coming out of my guitar. And it was like, you know what I mean? It was like a great day for me. I mean, it's like, because, I mean, I searched and searched. I mean, I tried this amplifier, that. I had twins. I had all these things. Could never, but this particular Music Man, just with the guitar that I had at the time, was Hortense. She was the first 335 I had. And it was like, I mean, it was life-changing right there, because that amplifier has been my amplifier since my first record. And, you know, I'll keep using it until it hemorrhages. But I don't think it will, because it's just like, it's an amazing little, I mean, you know, it's like this big. I mean, you know, you turn that thing up, it's like, it'll go as far as you want to go, you know what I mean? It's really a wonderful amplifier. And everybody has a certain sound they hear in their head. And once you can find an amplifier that does that, it's like somebody just took the handcuffs off them, and you're like free to blow now. It's like, there's my voice, you know? Before that, I didn't know what it was, but I knew that like Fenders were very clean, too clinky. I wanted something that kind of sung a little bit. And so that amplifier really changed my playing. It was like on my first record, right? It was like, so the amplifier I had blew up was the greatest thing ever happened to me, because then I get this other amplifier that it's like my sound. So it's like, from that first record, I just felt like I'll never get rid of this thing. This is my voice right here, you know, on the guitar.
And always humbuckers?
Yes.
Always humbuckers. And there's never any effects pedals used. It's just...
Because I figure, like, I'd probably trip over those and fall right into the front row on top of Nana. So I'm sorry, ma'am. You know what I mean? Just like, bunk, you know. Just trip. You know, I trip over those things or something and, you know, injure everybody, you know.
If you don't need it, you don't need them.
Well, you know, I mean, there was a time when I got a wah-wah pedal and I was like, this thing's kind of crazy. You know, just like, you know what I mean? But it was like for, you know, like about a 15-minute period. And then I just thought, you know, but I mean, I just always wanted my guitar to sound a way that when I go to play chords, the chords are not all buzzy, but yet I have a sustain when I'm playing single note things. So it's like, it couldn't be too fuzzy, like a Marshall would never work for me, because it'd be just too fuzzy, kind of like just, you know, it's a great sound when you're, you know, kind of crunching it out. But I wanted something that would sing like, you know, like a voice, really, you know what I mean? And, I mean, like this amplifier here, it's a Pro Reverb, it's a Fender. And normally Fender amps for me are just too stark and too clear. It's like, you know, I just start backing off because it's like clink, clink. But, you know, this thing here, now they make some that like I have no problem playing with these things. It's like I enjoy it. But for me, it's like my amplifier is my voice. It's like as soon as I have that amplifier, you know, we're off to the races. I mean, just like I felt like once I found that, went with my guitar, like they just piled up so good. And it was like, that was a great day for me, you know what I mean? The fact that my amplifier blew up on my record session could have been traumatic, right? But then they bring out this little box and it's like, you know what I mean? So, Boogie, no, you know, I'm not even gonna try to fix that thing, because here it is, you know? You know, and there's certain amps that are good for that stuff. For me, it's got to be something that can sing. It's not going to be harsh. It's not going to be too trebly and clinky. Kind of, you know, I want it to have some meat on it, but I don't want it to be so like meaty that you hear every finger noise, like, you know what I mean? And like in like a kind of a Marshall kind of setting, that stuff's all part of the sound. But for me, it had to be like, you know. You know, just like, you know, so I wanted it to sing, you know what I mean? I wanted it to sing like a voice, really. And that amplifier changed my whole approach to playing, you know? And it's a crutch, I mean, because if I don't have my amplifier, every other amplifier I play through, I'm like praying that, you know, like, hope this works out. But, you know, over the years, I found out that like these Blues DeVilles and things that Fender makes, you know, you push a button, you get a little sing on it. Back in business, you know what I mean? And it's like, because your sound is going to be crucial. If you don't hear the sound that you hope to hear come out of your guitar, it just stops you before you even get going. You know, it's like you're listening to every note like, you know what I mean? And so I was lucky to find an amplifier that was the sound I heard in my head at my first record, and I'm still using that amplifier today, you know? It's like, I don't know what I do. I mean, like, this is beautiful, and I mean the Fender DeVilles is like, okay, when I'm not at home, that's my second choice, and I can do it with those, you know what I mean? But it's so important to find the sound you hear in your head come out of your amplifier, because then you're not thinking about anything. Now you're just saying whatever you want to say with it, you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? It's like, hopefully everybody likes that it sounds like that, you know?
All right, thank you, Chris. All right, we're going to open it up to Q&A or questions. Any questions from the crowd? Aiden.
Chris, you're talking about your comping and your rhythm playing. You often do a sort of like play in thirds a lot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad habit I got into, but one time I had to do a trio gig with no comping behind me, right? And so I felt like I had to fill everything up. So I was, you know, and it just became a thing that, like, I like it. It's like it moves, it heads to where it's going. You know, I mean, it's probably a pain in the neck, people hearing it sometimes, but it's just a part. It's such a really crucial part of what I do when I comp. I mean, but I mean, I was thinking like a big band, you know. You know, that kind of thing. And so that's really what that's how that happened, because I was playing with a trio and I thought I had to fill up every blank moment of the thing, right? Which I don't. But I mean, that's how I was approaching it. It was like, okay, how do you keep it like never stopping, you know? You know, and it's like it's a big part of my comping thing now, you know what I mean? Probably some people might think it's a pain in the neck, soloing, but for me, it was just like, it became part of the way I could approach it. I could play like a horn section playing behind a guy, you know what I mean? It was like, that's how I was looking at it, and I hope it sounds like that, but, I mean, it's like a habit. It could be irritating, maybe, but for me, it was just like, it made me play rhythm than I ever played it before. You know what I mean? I could kind of listen to what they were playing, and I could kind of play little things behind it, and it's really one of the major things in my playing is like that whole thing. Not because I'm trying to be irritating, but just that's where I see where the chord's going, and I head to that zone, and like take these roads down, just get into the next neighborhood, really, kind of, So that's a big part of my whole mess right there.
You definitely sound like brass lines, like lead lines, like 1 to 4. You do that little one all the time.
Yeah.
It's beautiful company.
Thank you, brother.
Not annoying. I don't think anyone finds it annoying.
Thank you very much, huh? Thank you, Aiden.
All right. Other question. Is that you, Shane? Yeah, Shane, go.
Do you have a favourite string on your guitar? To me, it sounds like it's favoured the B string.
Well, it's funny, and I mean, tonight with this E string thing, it's like sometimes, you know what I mean? Like I lean on the E string, too much, and then it goes, you know what I mean? But the B string really is, I mean, if that thing goes, then I'm Paul McCartney, you know what I mean? But I mean, as long as you got that B string there, you say, you know what I mean? It's like that string sings because it's got a little more string on it. You know what I mean? You do that, I mean, it'll do that. But the B string has just got a little more meat on it, so it'll last longer. It'll sustain, like, you know what I mean? As long as you want it to. It's just depending on what you do with your hand, when you get off of it, how long you lean on it. You know what I mean? It's just. But yeah, I'm still, I'm still trying to figure out what all this stuff is. But for me, at this point in my life, those are the things that I have concentrated on, just like how to bend it, where to bend it, what string is good for bending it. There's certain strings that, like, it's not going to happen on that one, you know what I mean? But sometimes the G string, I mean, I played in Australia one time where I was down to 4 strings, and I played with 4 strings. See, that becomes like the Lord. They're like, I saw him play with 4 strings, you know what I mean? Just because, I didn't have time to go change them, you know what I mean? But it's funny because, certain strings but for me, the B string is one that you can just sit on and bend that thing, and it'll last as long as you leave your finger there. You know what I mean? It's like it'll last a lot longer than your E string will. In my humble opinion.
Cool. All right, thumbs up for the B string. Other questions? No?
Yeah, one question.
Yes, please.
Right, just go back to George's last question about your just guitar straight to the end. When you're setting up, where do you ride your volume at any stage on 10? Or do you set your amp up so you're going to pretty predominantly sit on sort of...
Yeah, I mean, I will play like when I'm starting a tune or something when I'm soloing. I'll have this thing all the way up to 10, and I'll have that up to whatever I leave it, like to get the sing I want. I'll put like the volume on like 4 or 5, the trebles on 10, no bass on it, and all the middle up to 10, right? And that's how I kind of roll with that thing. But it's like that's how I find the sound that I like to hear coming out of this thing.
Do you use the tone knob on the guitar as well?
No, I leave that thing on 10, you know what I mean? And most of the time, I always play on the neck pickup. I mean, if I'm just feeling totally nutty, I'll get down there and like Johnny Guitar Watson it, you know what I mean? But for the most part, it's like the neck pickup for me is my voice,
Like Julian Lage, he does the same. Okay, Aiden, another one.
Do you play any other guitars, Chris? At least at home for like guilty pleasures.
Well, I did this play one time where I made some money. And so, my first guitar that I ever got, my brother bought me an SG Standard. I saw that thing in a music store, and I stood there for like an hour just going, that's the greatest guitar I've ever seen in my life. Look at that thing. You know what I mean? So I asked my mother about it. She's like, that'll never happen. My brother said, well, Mama could... I said, no, it's like $600. It's not going to happen. So my brother got a job at Safeway and got the guitar for me, right? And it's like, it's like my... it's like I wouldn't take $1 zillion for that guitar because my brother Tootie gave it to me. But that was my first real guitar that I loved, and you know what I mean. I played that thing to death, and I still play it. But I did this play where I made some money, so I bought like an Epiphone Flying V. I bought these economical guitars that were like Epiphones, and but. If I take those to the gig, I just whiff the string. I can play this thing in my sleep, in a coma, you know what I mean? But like those other guitars I bought, I love to look at them and stuff, and but if I take them to the gig, on a thing, I just go up in flames because like I'm just missing. It's like, I just seem to know Melba, and so when I go to this thing, I don't have to really look or think about it. I just, you know what I mean? It's like. Yeah, if I look, that's when the problems come. If I start looking at my hands, they just, you know what I mean? You have to get somebody to cut me out of the strings. It's like he's caught again. It's like just... yeah.
Oh, all right. No tellies or strats in that.
I did buy some tellies because I made a record. It was called Chris Cain. It was like blues that my papa liked, like Guitar Slim, all these different guys. And I was just doing tunes in those styles. And I was doing it at Kid Anderson's place, Greaseland, and he had a telly. He goes, "Why don't you try this telly on this thing?" So I played this Telecaster, and I was like, I think that guitar just said bad words right now. I was like, you know what I mean? And so I bought 3 of those things after that, because I was like, this Telecaster's something else. It's saying bad words here. It's like, it's just like, and so, yeah, and it's a wonderful thing. Because this is my voice, this is my sound, you know what I mean? And I'd be happy to play this and nothing else for the rest of my life. But you look at these guitars, you know what I mean? They're like, you're drawn to these things, and because they're like a piece of art, too. They just look great. When I saw a Sunburst Les Paul, first time I ever saw the Rolling Stones, 1965. First time I ever saw a Sunburst Les Paul. First time I ever saw a Firebird. First time I ever heard a fuzz tone. The first time I ever heard the start of Purple Haze, I just stopped on my bike. It was gong, gong. I was like, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? It's like, it's a tritone, but there was moments in my life when it stopped me dead in my tracks and I heard something, I don't know what that is. What is that, right? And the first time I ever saw Les Paul, I said, that's the greatest guitar I've ever seen in my life, right? And my pal goes, hey, they got one like that at Woolworths. I go, like that? He goes, yeah. It's like, I mowed lawns for a month. Got the money. I went down, this thing looked nothing like that, right? I go, that doesn't look. He goes, I thought it did. I bought it anyways. But, it's like, he goes, oh, the one at Woolworths looks just like that. I go, like that? I'm mowing my ass off, right? I go down there, it's like, this thing looks nothing like that. It's like, I don't even know if that's the same kind of guitar that anybody has, but I bought it anyways, But, I remember the first time I saw a Sunburst Les Paul, to me, just blew my mind. It was like, that is the greatest guitar I've ever seen. And then Michael Bloomfield had one, right? And Bloomfield was like, okay, this is a guy that looks like me, and he's playing like B.B. King or something, you know what I mean? So I was drawn to him, that guitar. I wanted to have I got a Sunburst Les Paul. It looks like that, and I can play that one. But, you got to cradle that thing like a baby. You can't play that thing down here, you know what I mean? You got to kind of get it up here and get into the thing, right? So it's like, yeah, I have like about maybe 9 or 10 guitars, but, there's only really one that I can play, like in a situation like this, you know what I mean? And I looked at my guitar down here at the bottom of the neck. There's like ridges down here from just going like this. You know what I mean? I didn't realize it. And I looked, I went, man, a couple inches of wood is gone from down, just like, the money place. Ying, 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 you know what I mean? So, it's just like, but this, Melba, I had a guitar named Hortense, my first 335, wonderful guitar. And we were playing in Pittsburgh at this place called The Decade. It was like a rock club. And my band and I, after the set, the bartenders loved us. We go to the bar, we're drinking gin, we're having a wonderful time. But the club is in a neighborhood where, like, people are sleeping. It's like, club is right here, but there's all these homes where, like, people are, getting up and go to work in the morning. So we're out there loading our stuff. I was like 2 Jerry Lewises, falling, So all of us are out there. We're making, just our usual ruckus, right? And this brother came out of his home in a singlet and some pajama bottoms on, right? And he had a bat. And he goes, I'm going to hit that. I'm going to hit. And he points at me, and I'm definitely going to hit that. If you don't shut, what I'm saying? We're like. So, we put everything I thought we had in the van, and we split. So when we get to Angola, Indiana, I look in the back of the van. My guitar's not in there. I left it in the doorway of the club because, Sonny Liston came down with his bat. And I was like, taxi! You know what I mean? So, we got to the next location, and I call the club. He goes, yes, your guitar's here. I insured it for $600, and I send it to you. So, he got a guitar for $600. I got the $600. Hortense gone. But if I saw the guitar anywhere, I would know it anywhere because I know every speck of scratches on that thing, right? So then Herb Ellis, the jazz guitar player, talked to Gibson, and they sent this to me. And my mama said, Chrissy, would you? I said, Mama, I didn't say I was going to do anything. They just sent this to me. She thought I was in some kind of a jam and I got to do something for this, right? But it had like microphonic pickups so you could talk under these things, right? But it was this guitar. And so this lady smashed her husband's 335, the bits. And so I bought the guts from that guitar and put them in here. And then Melba was born because the pickups in that thing were very good, you know what I mean? And they are good, you know, but that guy's pain was my gain. It was like, you know, tragic for him, for me, life-changing, you know what I mean? Just these wires and a couple of these babies. I was like, I'll take those. Put those in here, and like suddenly this thing was saying bad words and stuff.
All right. Are there any other? Oh, Dave, up the back.
So we talked a lot about guitar, Chris, and we sort of spotted recently that you're an incredible keyboard player. So where does that fit into your life? When did you start playing keys?
Oh, keyboards? Well, you know, it's like two guys we never missed from the time I was 3 years old was Ray Charles and B.B. King. They would come every year to the Civic Auditorium. Every time they would come, we would go, you know. And, I mean, Ray Charles is like, it's crucial in my life. It's like B.B. King. I mean, I never saw a gentleman come on the stage and make you feel what he's feeling like that. You know, it was like magical. Even as a little kid, I knew that was the most amazing thing I ever heard. And just the way he played piano and his arrangements, the way he sung and everything, it just was always like as crucial in my life as Albert and B.B. King. It was like I couldn't get enough of that. So, you know, I'd be at home. I got like a piano. My parents had a piano, and so I just started trying to figure out what the heck he's doing. I mean, like I still try to do that. You know what I mean? But Ray Charles is like, it's like just a never-ending quest because that guy's just like, there's so many layers of that stuff. But that's what made me want to play the piano, is just hearing Ray Charles play those songs and what he was playing while he's singing these things. You know what I mean? It was like, even as a kid, I just was marvel at the way, and I mean, went and saw, we never missed Ray Charles, we never missed B.B. King. And it was always phenomenal. You know what I mean? Ray Charles and B.B. King are the first guys I ever saw that actually started crying. Well, I mean, I saw B.B. King one time at Winterland with Marlowe and Copperhead, and Freddie King was on the bill. And B.B. King was doing Guess Who? And tears were coming down his cheeks. You know what I mean? And I said, I've never seen that in my life. I never saw a guy play the guitar and just be crying and playing things that would make you want to cry. It was like, took my breath away, right? And I said, man, this, you know what I mean? I always loved B.B. King, but when I saw that, it was like, oh, man, I mean, this guy goes deep because, I mean, he was just, tears were rolling down his cheeks, and he was just playing the most beautiful things. I thought, oh, my God, you know what I mean? I've seen a lot of stuff, but I never saw that before, right? And it was like Ray Charles, same thing. He'd be crying in the middle of the tune, you know what I mean? It's like, whew. I said, man, I don't know how you get to that point where you could just open your heart like that so that you're just in tears, right? But, and speaking of tears, hello? I can't really talk right now, but I can drink. I'll get back to you. Thank you, Rosscoe. Appreciate that.
Did you ever meet Ray?
Yes, I did. It was like we played at, it was at the River in Memphis in May. And it was Cool, it was like us, Cool and the Gang, and then Ray Charles. And Ray Charles came with strings. And I told my pals, I go, hey, bring your handkerchiefs because you're going to be weeping. And they're like, ah, you know what I mean? They thought Ray Charles was like, you know, like, hit the road, Jack, right? I said, man, he's got violins tonight. You better buckle up, right? And I mean, all those guys were in tears because, you know, he did It's Not That Easy Being Green and stuff. I mean, these guys were like, I said, how you doing, Pally? You need a hanky? Because you know what I mean? You know what I mean? How can you not cry when you see that thing? I mean, it's like Ray Charles, to me, was like the first person I ever saw that, here's what I feel, now you're going to feel it when I do it. You know what I mean? It's like, huh. I mean, just to me, there is nobody really in music that ever touched a room full of people like that. I mean, all my pals were in tears. Man, I said, I told you guys. And so after the gig, I went up to one of his, like, the people that, like, work with Ray Charles Enterprises, and I said, do you think I could take a picture with Brother Ray? He goes, no. And I said, Then I saw Ray Charles' manager, Joe Adams, over in the corner. I went over to him, and I go, hey, we were the opening band. Like, do you think it would be possible to take a picture with Brother Ray? He goes, if you stand right here and have your camera ready, when he comes out, take your picture. I said, okay. So Ray Charles came out. We posed like this. My pal took the picture. And he took pictures of everybody, Elvin Bishop, all these things for that weekend. And the only picture that came out on the whole roll was the picture of me and Ray Charles, right? And that's like my prized possession, man. I mean, and the look on my face in this picture, I'm like, I mean, man, it was just like I'm standing next to Brother Ray, and I said, thank you, Brother Ray. He goes, all right, my friend. And then, boom, into the car, and he's off, right? But, I mean, it's like, got the roll back. The only picture that came out was the most important one. You know what I mean? Great day of my life. That was fantastic, man. I mean, that thing's on my wall, and it's one of my prized possessions. You know what I mean? I mean, because I told my pals, I said, he's got violins and stuff tonight. Get ready, pal. They're like, I said, yeah, we'll talk about this when it's over. You know what I mean? By the time he did Being Green and all that stuff and got that thing, they were like, I said, how you doing, Chief? You know, so it's like, I told you. Ray Charles, I mean, he'll get right in there, like touch you, what he's feeling, now you're going to feel it. He make you feel what he's feeling. I mean, never seen that before. Even as a kid, I thought, this guy is magical, right? I mean, just a mind blower. To me, Ray Charles is one of the greatest musicians I ever saw because he could go into the studio. He's working all these knobs on his thing, mixing these records. I mean, it's like he goes, hey, if you know one of them, you know all of them. But, I mean, he is a genius. You know what I mean? Like the tunes that he would choose to record, I mean, would just be stuff that just would hit you right in the heart. You know what I mean? And I always thought that is the most gifted gentleman I've ever seen because he's going to make you feel what he's feeling right now. That's like, yeah, it's easy to say, but it's hard to do, right? And I mean, like clockwork. I mean, he'll bring you to tears, you know what I mean? So I love Ray Charles with all my heart because of that stuff. Those records, I mean, my parents' Ray Charles records, I mean, they were always looking for them because they were always in my room, you know what I mean? I just watch him and see him do his thing. It was like, just... one of my favorite things to ever watch and listen to was like Ray Charles at the piano singing and playing with his band, doing his thing. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, as soon as he would come on the stage, even as a little kid, when you see me, like, because it's like he comes out, it's like he's got these glasses that look like bandages on his eyes. You know what I mean? You're thinking he sits down at the piano. I mean, his legs are going all over the place. You think he's going to fall off the stool or something. But no, man, he's just lost in it, right? And it's like I said, man, of all the people I've ever seen play or sing music, that guy, to me, is like, one of my favorite. I'm just like, you put something on like that when you're feeling blue, and I mean, he'll take you right to where you want to go. It's like, there's nobody like that I've ever seen that make you feel what he's feeling like that. I mean, it's like on 12, like the feeling that's in this thing, the voice, and the little things he's playing in between what he's singing are incredible. These little phrases and things. I mean, it's like, you know what I mean? You just watch this and go, oh, man, if I could do that on the piano, it would be so phenomenal, right? You can't, but it's something to, aspire to. And for me, that's a chase that I just enjoy. You know what I mean? I try to do that, but that's where I'm coming from. Ray Charles is like, that's the guy that made me want to play at the piano like that, right? I mean, just never seen anybody do anything like that. Make you feel that.
Absolutely. And yeah, if you haven't seen Chris at one of his gigs, he usually gets up on the keys for a couple of songs or one.
I don't want to press my luck.
But I've heard some recordings that you did. They must be demos, and I think you gave them to Michelle and Flo, where it's you on piano and singing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I'm home, it's like I play the guitar, but I mean, when I got a piano, it's like, most of the time I'm locked in my room trying to figure this stuff out. Everybody else dating, driving, you know what I mean? What was that again? You know what I mean? But, I mean, that stuff just really, it drove me to just lock up in a room and try to figure out how to make that sound on the piano. It's like, or on the guitar. It's like, these gentlemen really just drove me to just strive to try to make that sound. Something you played that makes somebody else feel what you just played. You know what I mean? And that's been my chase ever since I first picked this thing up. And I still chase that. It's like I think if you open your heart when you're playing and you just are not afraid to feel it, you can get there. You know what I mean? But, it's just you got to just open it up and just not think about it, but just, and I strive for that, you know what I mean? I hope someday I get that really down, but That's what I'm always trying to do, is I'm trying to just go to a place where what I'm feeling, you might feel it too when I play it. You know what I mean? I'm not just playing licks, but I'm playing something that make you feel this thing that I'm feeling right now. Because when I play this stuff, I get lost in it. I mean, I feel it. You know what I mean? I feel blessed and lucky that I got to the point where I could just not be afraid to open my heart and just let it happen. You know what I mean? Because there's a fear factor with it, because if it goes wrong, you know, you look like you're nuts. But these are things that, like, in my life are important to me to try to understand. And I mean, I've been trying to understand it since I was 17. And I still am trying to figure out exactly what it is, because it's like some kind of a scientific phenomenon. You know what I mean? He plays a thing and then you start crying. It's like, how can you do that every time? He'll make you cry at, you know, same point every time. It's like, that's a gift, you know what I mean? And I want to have that gift, you know what I mean? And that's what I strive for. It's like I want to play things, and when I play it, it doesn't sound like I'm just playing licks, but you might feel it too, you know, because I know I feel it. There's times when I don't feel it because I'm thinking, but if I just let myself go, I can get there, you know what I mean? And yes.
Well, you definitely take us there, Chris. Another question up the back. Oh, sorry. Okay, you can go first and we'll go up the back.
A little one. When you pick up the guitar, your fingers just go to something. It's a part of yourself. What's your favorite lyric?
You know, I really don't have one. It's like, they're all kind of like part of my vocabulary. It's like the alphabet. Okay, sometimes I use A, but it's like, for me, it's like there's just like patterns that over the years, they're in my head, and it's just like, if I'm not thinking and I just play what I'm feeling, I just go to things, and it's like, it's not really, but in certain situations, they're all my favorite, you know what I mean? Because certain things are like something, you know, when you play this right here, it's gonna make a thing happen. If you do it all the time, it wears it out. But if you just like, you know, a certain point you use that thing, you know what I mean? The variety of your vocabulary is like, so all the licks that I know are stuff, I love them all, you know what I mean? It's like it's like words when you want to write a letter. Which word am I going to use to express what this is, you know what I mean? And it's like, sometimes it's, you know, but it's like certain things. But I mean, I just, you know, I searched all these patterns down, you know what I mean? I love that one. Put it in my little thing of licks, right? Like, and these are like the phrases that I will use to express what I'm feeling on this tune. And there's like all these different phrases that you'll hear me play. But it's all stuff, every one of those things is something that I heard on these records, and I said, man, I have to have that thing to say what I want to say. That's like a great way to say it, you know? So over the years, I just added these things to my thought pattern, like as far as like musical thoughts, like how I'm going to express this thing. And where you put them and how you put them there is what makes them do something or not do something, you know? But I don't really have a favorite one, but I know that, you know, it's going to involve something that was bent up to something, or, it's, you know what I mean? But it's like, that's really, they're like all like my little children, you know what I mean? And I think they're all cute, you know what I mean? It's like, but they're my kids. But, you know, these are licks that I got from other gentlemen and things, right? And over the years, I've developed these things that are like things that they're like a Cainism, you know what I mean? There's only a few of them, but my brain is very tiny.
All right. There was a question up the back there.
Is there any modern-day guitarists you like to listen to? Guys like Kenny Wayne Shepherd, John Russell, these sort of people you like to listen to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I look at all guitar players like it's a wonderful thing, because I understand what it takes to get to the point where they're saying what they're saying, you know what I mean? And, you know, I love all guitar players, you know what I mean? I play this one specific kind of a flavor, you know, it's like Mexican food or something, but there's other foods that are also delicious. And these guys all, you know, would not be known if they hadn't locked themselves in a room too and figured this thing out, you know what I mean? So when they speak to you, you feel it, you know what I mean? And it's like, to me, they're all amazing, because it's like, the road to get to the point where you can actually talk on this thing and make somebody else understand what you're saying when you're saying it without saying a word is, it's like a magic trick. It's like, how do you, it's like, I don't know how the Northern Lights do that thing, but they are like light bright in the sky. It's like, but in order to get to that point, they had to lock themselves in. It's like there's no way that they got to play the way they play by just saying, I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? You have to really lock yourself in a room and take time to understand all these little parameters of this particular whatever they're playing. And it's like, I think it's just great that there's so many different guys. And the fact that Joe Bonamassa and guys that are younger, like, because all the other fellas they're dying off, right? So who's going to do this stuff? And those guys, thing about them is like that they tell you who the guys were that they got this thing from. And, they're the purveyors of this thing, just showing you that it can be done. You know what I mean? So I think anybody that lock himself in a room for, years, ruining their records like that, God bless them, because that's what you have to do to really be able to speak what you want to say on this thing, is like to be able to go in the room and figure out what that is, how that works like that. Why, when he does this thing right there, it makes you, do this. And, it's a chase that never ends in my eyes, you know what I mean? And I'm chasing it today. Tomorrow I'll be chasing it until I stop breathing, because it drives you. But like those guys, incredible, you know what I mean? Kenny Wayne Shepherd, unbelievable, right? First time I heard him, I'm like, huh? Joe Bonamassa can play anything in the world. he could go play with bluegrass guys and just be like, this guy knows how to play the guitar, understands everything about it. He's been playing it since he was, 12 and playing his butt off, you know what I mean? And been very, he said one thing about me, and it was like overnight, it was like my house went like this. Joe Bonamassa said, I was like, oh, what did he say? It was good stuff, but thinking, oh, what did he say? But no, he said something good about my playing, and it was like, my house moved. It was like, because he said that, right? And, God bless all those fellas, because I know what it takes. It's like you have to lock yourself in a room and ruin all your records and just, listen to this thing a million times and try to understand why that makes you feel like that. And then see if you can do it so that somebody else can feel that, And I think, hey, anybody that does that, it's wonderful, because those are the guys that drive you to want to get your guitar out of the case and do it too. You hear that stuff, you go, oh my, man, you know what I mean? If I could just do that, and that was me all the time, if I could just do that, I'd be thrilled and I'd be happy. But once I figure that out, then there's something else I got to know. It's like the chase never ends, and I love the chase. But all of those fellas, you know what I mean? Oh, you know what I mean? It's like the people that don't really play, that talk about this guy's no good or this guy's good. It's like that stuff is like cancer, right? Because basically, God bless anybody that will take that much time to try to understand how to say something on this piece of wood. It's a piece of wood, you know what I mean? How do you make it something that like these people can feel? You don't know these folks. They don't know you. They have no reason to care, you know what I mean? But you do it, and you do it until you can actually feel it yourself, and then you hope that somebody else feels it too. But that's been my approach since I was like 16 years old, you know what I mean? And I say to those fellas, yes, thank you, you know what I mean? Because, the first times I ever saw Albert Collins play, you know what I mean? It's like, I thought I heard everything till I heard his guitar sound. I'm like, so he's going to come to San Jose State. I go to see him on Halloween night. There's like about 12 people in there, right? He had this chord that was like 40 feet long. He just started playing, left the club, went out into the quad. Nobody's out there. It's nighttime, you know what I mean? He's doing all this stuff. I said, this guy, unbelievable, right? And then to play with him, you know what I mean, and have him like come to me and know me and say, my father was at a festival I was playing at, and Albert Collins to me, he said, you Chris's dad? He goes, yeah. He took him onto his bus and he showed him a video of me sitting in with him. And my papa was like on cloud nine for like 3 weeks after that. He didn't have to do that, you know what I mean? But he was sweet like that. And the last time I saw him was at the very first Santa Cruz Blues Festival. And he had a French coat on. And he said to me, hey, boy, he got me in the head like, you still picking at that box? He was like, he was so vibrant. And 2 weeks later, he was dead. Nobody knew he had cancer or anything. He was dead. It's like, but he seemed like, the most vibrant. He goes, hey, boy, you still picking at that box? And he got me in a headlock with his French coat. Like, You know what I mean? He was just wonderful to me. You know what I mean? And all of these gentlemen that I'm mentioning went out of their way to make me feel like I was doing something that was on the right track. You know what I mean? B.B. King called me up, gave me a big hug from my mom and papa right there. You know what I mean? It's like, so, I mean, I respect all guitar players that try to play, because this is just a never-ending quest. I mean, it will never end. No matter how much you search and listen and figure things out, there's like zillions more stuff. I mean, like, you know, you have to live almost 2 lifetimes to get to the point that these fellas play. I mean, it's like B.B. King, one note. You sold. I mean, it's like, there's no way this guy's kidding. There's no way this could be just some lick. It's like more than a lick. It's like something he just said that made you almost start bursting into tears, you know what I mean? And so all those gentlemen that I've been talking about are all guys that did that for me as a kid and as a grown man. I was like, I listen to these things. I remember the first time I heard this record, and it's like, when I heard it, it's like, you know what I mean? And every time I listen to it, it's like I heard it for the first time. Because when you see somebody express themselves on a guitar without saying a word, but they're saying all this stuff, that like you totally are like, yes. Yes, I mean, it's like, you know, it's like a magic trick, but it's not magic. It's like a lot of time and a lot of love that they have for this instrument that made them get to the point where they could actually make you feel this thing that they just played, you know what I mean? And that's been my goal since I was 16 years old. And I'll still be chasing it until I stop breathing, you know, because it's like food for me, you know what I mean? I love every second of it. I love the work of trying to figure out what the hell that was, chase it down, see where it goes, where it doesn't go, you know what I mean? I was like very anal about it when I was a kid, you know what I mean? Just, where does that thing go? I'd make these little chord tapes where like they go through changes, so I would just see how to play through changes, so it's not like da-da-da, da-da-da-da, so it just goes through the changes like you're just traveling down the street, right? And that's still my goal. I mean, that I can't wait to wake up in the morning and figure more things out. It's like I love the chase as much as I love the actual playing of it, you know? I always have.
And you're pretty damn good at it, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions from the crowd? Yes. Sure.
Just indulge me, please. Going on this lady's question about your licks, you've got a couple of licks. There's one favourite lick of mine that I've been listening to for years. Speaking of luck myself in a bedroom trying to figure out. It's a cascading lick. It's a signature Chris Cain lick. You do it all the time. It's like a sort of cascading lick.
I wonder what it is.
You played, it's in the first solo on your new record, on the first solo. It's the intro. I don't know how to describe it. It's in my head. You play it all the time.
Can you play it?
No, not really. I'm not going to embarrass myself.
Oh.
That one. Yeah, I was about to say it's going to be the...
Yeah, you know what that is? It's like you're staying on the fifth, right? But you're in the key of A. So you got this little pivot note. So you know what I mean? It's just like yeah, it's like just a thing. You know, it's a bad habit, but when I found that, it was like just a wonderful thing. It's like, you know, you got this pivot note. Just, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just a thing that I like to do. It's fun to do. You know, it just feels good to do it. Thank you.
That one's a good one. And the one on the 4 chord where you go to the 3. And this one. Simon does it too. This one.
Oh, yeah. See, that's the thing. I found out like this chord here. And then there's this, where that thing is like, so wherever that chord is. You know, but it's like that whole, I mean, when I found out, I was like, you know what I mean? I started running it into the ground because I was just like, this is the funnest thing I ever played. People like, but yeah, it's like that's, you know, when I figured that out, it was like, there's been moments in my life where like I remember every time where like when I found that it changed the way I played. I never played in a box again. It was like I was out of prison, you know what I mean? And all these things like that were all things that when I found, I said, wow, that thing works over this chord works over that. You could put it anywhere. You put it on 1 chord, you put it on a 5 chord, you can put it anywhere you want. And it works, you know what I mean? It's like, so that was like, every time I discovered one of those things, you know what I mean, I ran it into the ground. Because just, it's just, that's the thing about guitar, really. It's like, and every one of those things was just another key to open up a door that I never went through before. You know what I mean?
I find it quite interesting, just as an added bonus to that, the fact that you've probably picked up by listening to other players certain licks, and then so I've seen you kind of like bring these licks to Australia, and then I see Ray Beadle pick up these licks and then make them his own, working on them, and it keeps going, right? Everyone's standing on each other's shoulders, sort of.
I swear, and the fact that happens is like the happiest thing in my life. I mean, I meet fellas, all the time that are much younger than me. Everybody's younger than me, but you know what I mean? I see the joy in their face about playing the guitar, and it's like that's how it is for me. That's how it was when I was 17. It was like a food I couldn't get enough of. You know what I mean? I'd rather be in my room locked in there trying to figure out what this is and getting my ass kicked by this thing that I can't get yet. You know what I mean? I love the chase. You know what I mean? And every time I crack one of those cases, I feel it's wonderful. You know what I mean? And just to get to the point where I didn't really have to think about what the next lick was. I just was talking like I would talk right now. I wouldn't think, okay, what word am I going to say second? It's just like I just make a sentence, you know what I mean? And so that's how I've always approached it. And I feel that is when I really started to be able to express exactly what I feel whenever I wanted to do it. Like, when do I want to do it? When do I want to feel that? It's like, and if you play it too much, so it's, but it's like just how you place it, where you put it. But that is all that I've ever really concentrated on in my 67 years. I mean, just really, I love that. I love the chase of that. What is that thing that, like, every time he plays that, I get a thing right here. You know what I mean? I love that. You know what I mean?
All right. Any other questions? I think we have exhausted the questions. Okay. Hey, Chris, do you want to maybe play one more song? Maybe with
I would love to.
Yeah. I was going to invite Aiden Glover to play some bass.
Out of sight.
Come on, Aiden. We're going to get Rosscoe back up. Before we begin, how about a big round of applause for Chris Cain? Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing all your amazing knowledge.
Thank you, folks, very much for even listening to my BS, huh? I appreciate you guys even being here tonight. So we're going to play this tender love song called I've Been Drinking Straight Tequila. Sensitive love song. Here we go, gents. Try to ease my pain. I've been drinking straight tequila just to try to ease my pain. Well, I knew you gonna hurt me, baby, just to show it my name is Cain. I've been drinking straight tequila 'cause I feel so alone. I've been drinking straight tequila 'cause I feel so alone. Well, I want to call you baby, but you wouldn't pick up the phone, Raymond.
drinking straight tequila. Drinking straight tequila. Drinking straight tequila. Just to try to ease my pain. Well, you gon' hurt me, baby. Just to show that my name is Christopher Cain. I've been drinking straight tequila. Drinking straight tequila. Drinking straight tequila. Just to try to ease my pain. Well, you gon' hurt me, baby. Just to show what my name is. I've been drinking straight tequila. Drinking straight tequila. Drinking straight tequila. Just to try to eat my baby. Well, you gon' hurt me, baby. Just to show what my name is. So glad you dropped by. Hey, good evening, baby. So glad you dropped by. I haven't seen you in a while. I don't know the reason why. It's been a long, long time since we got our separate. It's been a long, long time since we're gone our separate ways. Let's have a couple cold ones, talk about the good old days. glad you dropped by. Could I get a little more money here? Hey, good evening, baby. So glad you dropped by. I haven't seen you in a while. I don't know the reason why. It's been a long, long time since we've gone our separate ways. It's been a long, long time since we've gone our separate ways. Let's have a couple cold ones. Talk about the good old days, maybe Cooper's. Very much. Raymond Beadle on the guitar. Love this character, the crazy. You know, the first times I came here, when I met Raymond, you know, it was like a wonderful thing. And every time I think about him, I think he's got the buzz cut. He's like still, you know, what, 12 or whatever it was. He was killing it then, you know what I mean? And he's just a great person. So, I mean, like right now, the fact that he's here too with us doing this whole thing makes my soul complete. It's like just a wonderful cat, man. I love this character. All these fellas, George on the bass here, and Mr. Clarke, who is a known legend here, right? Put up with my mess. I mean, he's a wonderful guy, very tolerant. So we're gonna play the blues right now, send it out to everybody with our love. Hope you enjoy it, everybody. In the key of B flat, just a slow blues. Quick 4, 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, it's blues time. We'd like for you to prepare yourself, get yourself together, get yourself in the frame of mind. I just always wanted to say that on the microphone, you know? When I first met you, baby, baby, you were just sweet 16. When I first met you, baby, baby, you were just sweet 16. I was 11 though. You just left your home and baby, you were the sweetest thing I'd ever seen. But you wouldn't do nothing, baby. You wouldn't do anything I'd ask you to. Let's think about that. Oh, you know you wouldn't do nothing, baby. You wouldn't do anything I'd ask you to. You know you ran away from your home then, baby. And now you want to run away from old Chris Cain, too. Kids, don't try this at home, because it's dangerous. I don't This is my guitar, Melba. She's happy to be here too. What'd you say, Melba? Play it, Beadle. Sweet 16, baby. Well, the sweetest thing, baby. The sweetest thing I've ever seen. Well, the sweetest thing I've ever seen. Well, you know I'm having so much trouble, baby. Oh, I wonder what the world gonna have to be. Yeah, baby. Yes. I just made my whole night right there.
Thank you, brother. Yes, how about Crosscut Salt in the key of A, huh, gentlemen?
It's a tune by Albert King, and Albert King was a big person. When you shake his hand, it's like sticking your hand inside a beanbag chair or something. It's like, it's a giant hand, you know what I mean? He was a wonderful person, 18 feet tall, and very kind to me. So we're gonna send this out to Mr. Albert King and to all you nice folks. Hope you enjoyed it, everybody. Two, A, 1, 2, I'm on Crosscut Salt. Drag me across your lawn. Well, I'm on Crosscut Salt. Drag me across your lawn. 'Cause you want to eat it for you, baby. Can't help but say hot dog. Well, it's got a double-bladed axe that really cuts good. I'm a Crosscut Salt, just bury me in your wood. Crosscut Salt. Drag me across your lawn. 'Cause you want to eat it for you, baby. Can't help but say hot dog. Oh!
Thank you, brother.
Now don't call me wood cutting Sam. Don't call me wood cutting Bill. Last girl I cut the wood for want me back again. Crosscut Salt. Drag me across your log. I'll touch your wood so easy for you, baby. Can't help but say hot dog. Thank you very much. Thank you, Raymond. Well, there you go, baby. Just to show what my name is.